That's the recording that I use. Okay, so we're on 1/6, 2D figures, two-dimensional figures. You actually know a lot of this stuff today already. You just maybe don't know like the formal definitions and stuff like that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a polygon. You guys already know what polygons are, you just maybe can't explain it. So here's the super formal definition. A polygon is a closed figure formed by a finite number of coplanar segments. So, the sides with a common endpoint are non-collinear. Each side intersects exactly two other sides, but only at their endpoints. That's a really fancy way of saying these things you're going to add. You're going to add this to it. You're going to say the sides are closed. You're also going to say no arcs. So what that means is everything, there's not going to be any smooth curves. It's all going to be like straight lines, okay? And it can't cross itself. And I'll show you what that means in a second. So I would definitely add that up there somewhere for myself, okay? So if you look at our first picture, I'm going to make sure it like follows the checklist there. Are the sides closed? Yeah, this is not an open figure, so check, right? Are there any arcs? No, those are all straight, hard lines, right? Does it cross itself? No, so this is a polygon. So you could say yes, you could say poly, whatever makes sense to you, okay? Are the sides closed? Yes. Are there any arcs? So that means no, right? Because that's not a straight, hard line because it's a smooth curve. It's not a polygon or no or something that makes sense to you, okay? Is it closed? No. So done. You guys get that's an open shape, so that doesn't work. Is it closed? It's closed. Check. Are there any arcs? No. Does it cross itself? So it crossed itself, so it's not a polygon. Okay? Is it closed? Check. Are there any arcs? Nope, so that works. Does it cross itself? So it is a polygon. Is anyone confused after seeing the examples now? Okay. Does anyone still need that page? All right. Convex and concave. You guys have heard those words before, probably especially in a science class. Again, this is the super formal way of describing it. So convex, the line containing each side does not contain a point in the interior. And then concave, is not convex. Here's how I look at it. If I were to extend these lines, oops, pretend that didn't go down. If I were to extend these lines, does it cave in on itself? Does it cross the inside of the shape? No. So that means is it's convex. This one's convex. If I extend the lines and I don't touch the inside of the shape, I don't cave in on myself, I'm convex. If you look at this one, if I extend these lines, do you see how I cave in on myself? That's concave. Do you guys get the difference now? Okay. Add this shape for yourself, basically a right triangle. Draw yourself a right triangle, and you decide if it's convex or concave for me. If you extend those lines, does it cave in on itself or not? No, right? If we extend these, I don't touch the interior again, right? So that's what? Convex. Good. Do you guys get that now? And that happens a lot in geometry. Sometimes the words don't make a whole lot of sense to us, but a picture and an example does. Okay? All right, these are things you probably already know, like half of them. You know, 3 sides make a triangle, 4 sides quadrilateral, 5 sides pentagon, 6 hexagon, 7 heptagon, 8 octagon, 9 nonagon, 10 decagon, 11 hendecagon, 12 dodecagon. After that, in this class, we just call it an ngon. So for example, if I have a 15-sided figure, I would call it 15 gon. Does that make sense? So you have to know these names, but after that, we don't. Most of you know half of those. Most of you know like 8 sides is an octagon, so you might have to memorize a couple. I feel like a lot of people maybe get confused about like 6 and 7, but other than that, it's probably pretty good. Okay? Equilateral. You guys already knew what that meant before you walked in the door today. What's equilateral mean? All the sides are the same. Very good. So in this class, it's a polygon, and all sides are congruent. That's what you just said, right? Equiangular means all the angles are the same. Again, it's a polygon. All the angles are congruent. We're going to draw a picture of those. Equilateral triangles look like that, right? It doesn't have to be a triangle. That's just what I'm drawing. Equiangular triangles look like that. Okay? A regular polygon, this might be new for you. A regular polygon is equilateral, equiangular, and convex. So what that means is all the sides are the same and all the angles are the same. But it cannot be regular unless it's convex. So if it's concave, it's automatically irregular. Okay? So a picture like that, again, it doesn't have to be triangles, that's just what I'm drawing, would look like this. All angles the same, all sides the same. That's called regular. Okay? You guys know this by now. Perimeter. What's perimeter? How do I find it? Yeah, you add all the sides up, right? It's the sum of the lengths of the sides. Circumference is the same thing as perimeter, but it's a circle, right? So the distance around a circle. You can either call it C equals 2 pi r or C equals pi d. What's the r stand for in this one? Radius, d, diameter. Diameter, right? You can pick whichever one. I always memorize the 2 pi r one, but pi d works as well. It just depends on the picture. So if they give me the diameter, I would probably use this one, or you could cut it in half and plug it into the other one. It doesn't matter. Okay? Area, number of square units needed to cover the surface. So the difference between perimeter and area is if I have a fence, right? Like let's say I have dogs and I want a fence in my yard. The perimeter is the fence itself, right? It's how much fence I'm going to need to keep the dog inside. The area is how much grass is inside of that, right? So perimeter is the distance around something, area is inside of it, okay? So here's some formulas that you may not remember. Square is side squared for area. Rectangle is length times width. Circle is pi r squared. Triangle is 1/2 base times height, in case you forgot those. A lot of people get circumference and area of a circle confused. They kind of forget which one's which. They remember both of them, but they can't remember which one goes for which question. If you look, isn't area always squared when you say it, like inches squared or something? So for a circle, that pi r squared, that's kind of your hint that it's the area, if you can't remember which one goes to what. Okay? All right, name each figure by the number of sides. Then, is it convex or concave? And is it regular or irregular? Go ahead and count the sides here for me, please. How many sides do we have? 8 sides. Therefore, what's the name? Octagon. Very good. How many people are uncomfortable calling that an octagon? Right? If you go back to elementary school, the 8-sided octagons that you saw were probably regular shapes. This is an irregular shape. I accidentally gave you an answer, but when you were in elementary school or junior high or whatever, they typically showed you all the pretty ones. This is still an octagon, even though it's not pretty. Does that make sense? Okay. So we named it, check. Convex or concave. So if I were to extend these lines, do I cave in on myself? Yeah. So that's concave, right? The next question is regular or irregular. Let's go back to what that means. Regular means all the sides are the same and all the angles are the same. So if I look at this picture, all the sides are the same, check. You guys see all those tick marks, right? I know they're trying to trick you here. It looks like all the angles are the same because they all have this arc, right? But what about this angle here? Do you see that one? Do you see what I'm saying? So this is not all the sides are the same, all the angles are the same. So it's irregular. Here's another way to tell. If we go back to regular, it has to be convex. And what did we say this one was? Concave. So it's not allowed to be regular. Even if you think it is, it's not. Do you get that? Okay. Count how many sides on this one, please. What did you come up with? I know that one's kind of tricky, but it should be 11. I know it's hard. Yours is probably a little bit better than mine, but it should be 11 sides. Are you guys okay with that? If you look at yours again and count. Okay. And then what's the name for that one? It's on the front. Yeah, hendecagon. Hendecagon. Okay. And then is it convex or concave? Concave. If I extend these, I cross it. Right? So it caves in on itself or whatever makes sense to you. Regular or irregular? Irregular. You got two reasons why. It's concave, so automatically irregular. Or you can look at it. These are not all the same side lengths and all the same angles. That doesn't even make sense, right? Anyone still need that page? Okay? Here we go. Find the perimeter or circumference and area of each figure. Round to the nearest tenth. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is tell myself that that's what I'm looking for. Instead of perimeter here, what am I going to call it? Circumference and area, right? In geometry, a lot of times you're finding two answers, not one. So I like to do that so I don't forget to go back and find the other one. Okay? Yours is a right triangle. I don't have a box there, so there we go. So perimeter of a triangle. Don't I just add all three sides up? Right? I don't know that side, though. How do I find the third side of a right triangle when I'm given the other two? That's if I was talking about angles. If I'm talking about sides, how do I find the third side of a right triangle? We could find the area first. Yeah, I'm finding perimeter first, though. Either way, it doesn't matter. Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Can't you use that to find that third side? Okay, so in case you don't know by now, this is called the hypotenuse, right? The hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So that has to go for C every single time. That matters. So the X has to go here. The other two legs can go either place, A or B. It doesn't matter because we're adding, right? You can add in any order. So I'm going to say 6.5 squared plus 4.5 squared equals X squared. Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay. So obviously you need a calculator today, every day, really. So go ahead and get that out, please. Take 6.5 squared plus 4.5 squared and tell me what you get. Yep, 62.5, good. But we don't want x squared, we want x. So how do I get just an x? Very good, square root both sides. So x is about, what do you guys get for that? It's like 7.9? Is that what you guys got? Everybody know how to take square root on your calculator? Do you need help with that? Okay. So we get about 7.9 centimeters. All right? On this, I want to be careful that you guys don't forget algebra concepts. Technically, when I square root both sides of an equal sign, what am I really supposed to put there? A plus or minus? Remember that one weirdo question with like the n or whatever? Technically, we're supposed to do plus or minus, but in geometry, it's kind of nice you can ignore the negative like most of the time because I can't have a negative side. That doesn't make any sense. But I just don't want you to forget it for the algebra, okay? So now that I have all three sides, don't I just add them up? Right? So use your calculator. Take 6.5 plus 4.5 plus 7.9. And what do we end up with for the perimeter here? 18.9 centimeters-ish, right? I rounded, but that's okay. All right? For area, what is the formula for the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height. Very good. What's the base of this triangle? 4.5. What's the height? 6.5. So you're literally just going to plug that in and round to the nearest tenth, please. What do we get for that one? Say it again. I didn't get that. 1/2 times 4.5 times 6.5. Yeah. 14.6 centimeters squared because area is always squared. If you don't get it, try it again really quickly and let me know. It's probably just you forgot a decimal or something silly. Uh-huh. Why did I square root this? Because I had x squared, and the only way to get x alone, because I didn't want x squared, I wanted x. Does that make sense? The opposite of a square is a square root. They cancel each other out. Is that okay? Okay, and what you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay? Are we all okay? Pretty comfortable? All right? So this next question, this is pretty straightforward, right? We need the circumference. I used 2 pi r, and it's nice because didn't they give me the radius? Right? You could have used pi d if you want to, but if they give you the r, you probably want to use the radius one. So 2 pi, our radius is 5.8. From now on, you need to use the pi button. Your calculator has a pi button. If you don't know where it is, let me know. I'll help you find it. But then we'll round at the end here. If for some reason you don't have a calculator on you, don't use 3.14. It's not really good enough. I would use 3.14159 personally, but really the pi button would be best. So let's round that to the nearest tenth. What do we end up getting here? Very good. Circumference is about 36.4 centimeters. Well, you can't read that, but I'm changing those equal signs to squiggles because that means I rounded. Do you have to do that? Not at all. I don't care, right? An equal sign means like 2 plus 2 is 4. I didn't round. The squiggles means approximately. But again, you can use an equal sign. I don't care. What's the formula for the area of a circle? It's on the front if you forgot. Yep, pi r squared. Again, what was our radius? 5.8. If you plug this in exactly how you see it, pi times 5.8 squared, you should get it right. You should get 105.7, and then area is always squared, so centimeters squared. If you're not getting that right, can you please let me know so I can help you? Do you have a calculator on you? Okay. Everybody good? Everybody good? All right. We'll come back to that, but now you've got it, okay? We'll come back to this one. I'll do that one in a second. I want to go ahead and do this one first, okay? So we're on the last question here, 35. We'll come back to 25 in just a second. 35, find the perimeter. The length of a rectangle is half the width. The area is 25 meters squared. What do we not have that would be super helpful? A picture? In geometry, if we don't have a picture, we're going to draw one, okay? So let's draw a rectangle. All right? They said find the perimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and tell myself I'm looking for the perimeter. I have no idea, but I know that's what my end goal is, okay? They said the length of a rectangle is half the width. They said the area is 25 meters squared. I'm going to start with the formula for perimeter of a rectangle. Does anybody remember the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle? Right? Length plus width, so really 2L plus 2W, okay? I don't know L or W, so I can't really do that yet, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my picture. They said again, the length is half the width. So here's my length, here's my width. I'm going to go ahead and stick with W for width, but instead of an L for length, what could I call it that might help me? The length is half the width. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I wrote 1/2 W, but W over 2 is the exact same thing if you're more comfortable with that. Do you guys get that I set it up with the information they gave me? So I can fill that in here, right? P equals 2, what did we call L again? Yeah, that one, right? 1/2 W or W over 2, whatever you're more comfortable with, plus 2W. Does everybody understand that? I'm stuck though, right? I can't solve with two variables. So I could keep going if I want to, but I'm going to get stuck anyway. So what that means is they've probably given me some information I haven't used yet. What did they give me that I haven't used? The area, this part, right? So I'm going to kind of have to leave this and come back to it. I need some more information. They told me the area, length times width, right, is 25. Do you guys see that I replaced area with 25? Okay. What was the length again for us? 1/2 W, right? And the width was W. Do you see how now I just have one variable, so I can solve for W and then go back? Okay. Well, give me 1 second. There's a couple options, but we wouldn't do what you said. You're a little flipped around, but you're right concept. What's W to the 1 times W to the 1? When you multiply, what do you do with exponents? You guys remember from algebra? You add them, right? What's 1 plus 1 then? Good. So 1/2 W squared. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So now the 1/2 is in the way. It's multiplying. So if you had a calculator, you could divide by 1/2, but we're smarter than our calculators. We're going to do it on our own. You could do that if you want to, or you could multiply by 2. Either way, you either divide by 1/2 or multiply by 2. Do you guys get that you need to pick one of those, right? Does that make sense? Keep it, change it, flip it. So either way, I get 50 equals w squared. You either divided by a half or you multiplied by 2. Pick one. Okay? So how do I get w alone? Square root. So square root of 50 is how I'm going to leave it for right now. Square root of 50 is w. I don't want to round this and then round my answer. That's too much rounding. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go back over here, and instead of w's, what am I going to put? Square root of 50s, right? Does everybody understand that? I had to do that to finish this problem. I really want to make sure you guys plug this in your calculator. I know how easy it is just to write down what I say, but with this one, especially with your calculators, a lot of you, if you don't plug it in exactly perfectly, you're not going to get it right, even though this is supposed to be the easy part, okay? So I'm going to tell you what it should be. You should end up with 21.2 meters. If you get that right, you obviously don't need my help. If you don't, let me know, and I'll tell you what's probably going wrong, okay? So everybody punch that in. If you don't know where your square root button is, let me know. If you don't get 21.2, please say something. So here's a common mistake I see, especially with the calculators that you guys have. When you take that square root of 50, it puts the left parentheses in for you. If you don't finish the square root of 50 with the right side of the parentheses and then push your plus sign, it thinks you mean something else. Yeah, it should be 21.2. If you're not getting that, tell me and I'll help you. So like on your calculators, you might want to do 2 times, like the times sign, 1/2 times sign. I'll do times sign. And when you push the square root, doesn't it put it like this, right? So you have to end the 50. And then your plus sign to square root 50, like that. Because it puts a, you have a what? You shouldn't have to. Let me show you how we can do it. So eventually, I want you guys just to get it right. I don't care how you do it, right? But eventually, you won't want to have to push the equal sign 100 times, right? So if you do 2 times 1/2 times square root of 50 and the 50, right? Plus 2, and you don't even have to put times, you just do square root of 50. So then you put that whole thing in. You can do 0.5, sure. Either way.
There we go.
And end it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And then keep going. Make sure you get it right. Anybody else? 2?
That's so much easier.
But you just have to be smarter than your calculator. If you don't end that 50 parentheses, it gets mad. What it actually thinks, if you don't end it, it thinks you're trying to add all this under the square root sign. So until you end it, you're not going to get it right.
The thing is, we never been taught which buttons are which.
Well, that's what I'm here for. And that's why it's so important that you bring your calculator every day. So like you have yours, obviously. But does anyone have a different one than hers? Can you hold yours up, Jeremy? So see his. So like if you borrowed his one day, you could possibly figure it out. But it's just easier if you know yours, so that way you know where your buttons are, because his aren't in the same spot. Did anybody not get that right? Need help? Did you get it right? Okay. Okay, last question. Go ahead and graph DEF. When you graph something, you want to label it. So like D is at -2, -2. So I'm going to go left 2 and down 2. And I'm going to put a D there. So you really have to make sure you label things. I feel like in algebra you didn't really have to do that because it wasn't necessary. But in geometry you really need to make sure you put a label on it. And then in E is -2, 3. So left 2 and up 3. So on your graph paper that he handed out, you're putting that on there. And then F is at 2, -1. So right 2, down 1. And then you connect the dots the best you can. If you really want to get a ruler, you can. It's not necessary, but Okay? So, step 1, graph. Okay, check. Check with mine, make sure it's right. Identify the figure. What is this? Triangle. Good. Then find perimeter and area. Okay? So again, perimeter is where you add up all the sides. So I'm obviously going to have to find what all the sides are. So this one's easy. It's just a vertical line we can count. So some people are still messing this up. So watch this. You don't count the first dot, right? So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does everybody get that, right? So DE is 5. I still need EF, and I still need DF. Okay? I'm going to do EF with you, and then I'm going to make you try DF. Okay? I'm going to do the Pythagorean theorem trick. Okay? If you're a distance formula person, no problem. We can go back and do that later, but I'm going to do the trick instead. I'll use blue. Okay? So, if you haven't caught on yet, I want you to try. Okay? We're going to draw a right, that's not blue. It doesn't matter, but still. We're going to draw a right triangle. Do you guys see how I made my own right triangle with the hypotenuse being the distance I want? Okay? So I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. This side is 4 long. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to say leg squared plus leg squared equals I don't know squared. Side EF is what I'm looking for. Do you guys get that? Okay? So 16 plus 16 equals x squared. And what is 16 plus 16? 32 equals x squared. And again, I don't want to round yet, so I'm just going to say square root of 32 for right now. Because if I round that and then I use it and then I round that, it's too much rounding. Do you get that? So this is square root of 32. So for the other one, for DF, I'm going to make you try it. You can either do your Pythagorean theorem trick or the distance formula. If you've forgotten what the distance formula is, it's square root x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So I want you to pick one or the other. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and put the answer up though, so if you get it wrong, you can tell me as I'm walking around. You should get root 17. If you don't get that, you're going to tell me and I'm going to help you. Okay? And then we'll finish it. Stop. If you still need help with the trick, this is a good chance to ask, or let me finish the notes and then I'll help you whatever. You should get root 17, either with the formula or with the trick. So you're going to make your own right triangle. Yep. It's not slope. It's kind of like slope though. So we're going to do this. So how long is that? 1. And how long is that? 4. So you're going to do, yep. Yep. Good. You should get it right. What? Yeah, this is the last one. Okay, so we need to finish it though. We need the perimeter. So you're literally just going to take 5 plus square root of 32, end it, right? End those parentheses if you have to, plus square root of 17. So everybody do that in your calculator, and we will round that to the nearest tenth. What do you get for perimeter when you get it? Should get 14.8. Is everybody okay with that? All right. And then area, if we go back, that's, 1/2 base times height. So you will need to watch me here if you're not there yet, okay? Is everybody comfortable with the perimeter? We just added them all up. Put parentheses at the end, right? Area, 1/2 base times height. This doesn't look like that one, right? It's not a pretty right triangle like this one was. Everybody knew where the base was. Everybody knew where the height was. It was really easy, right? On this one, I'm going to call this the base for just a second, okay? And this is my height. Oops. I'm off of it. Do you guys see right here is the height of the triangle? So again, in junior high, you guys probably had the pictures a little bit prettier, maybe I'm guessing. But in geometry, sometimes it's rotated, okay? So my base is 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4. My height is 4. So I'm going to say 1/2 times 5 times 4. And what's my area then? Yep. Oh, it's equal 10. Yep. Units squared. Oops. Gracious. I'm really far off there, but you guys see it. Let me end the video, and then if you guys have any questions, I can come around and help you. Okay?